Have you ever went to play Apex Legends and thought to yourself, wow, I would like to play a defensive character. So look at Gibraltar. He's got his arm shield, 50 HP. He's got an invincible bubble that is an easy crutch band-aid for poor positioning or open space plays. And he has an ult which allows you to obliterate a disadvantaged team, force them to move, or separate them from you. We could also go with Caustic, a very traditional defense character. He places giant barrels that block doorways, and if when shot incorrectly, they will produce gas for 10 seconds, which slows your enemies, blinds your enemies, damages your enemies directly to their health, all while Caustic can just swim through it like a whale in the ocean.
The mother is enormous. I feel utterly insignificant in her presence.
But then you look over at Wattson, and you think, wow, I didn't know Apex came with a hard mode. Before we get started, let me point out that Wattson is very hard to use. She is the worst legend in the game right now. She has a very niche uses, and her use in Pro League has even been dropping as other legends or other metas have just been proven to be so powerful, and Wattson is just not able to really, compete with this sort of environment or meta that Apex has created for itself right now. I'm going to break down this video into a few sections. We're going to talk about Wattson's passive, tactical, ultimate, her basic uses, some slightly more advanced uses, and like pro level techniques that you will use with her. People will just never see it coming, and even if they do, they're very, very powerful, and there's very little that can be done about it anyways. And when I say pro level techniques, I don't mean like, this is how you play Wattson in competitive ALGS Apex. I'm saying this is how you play Wattson in your pub games, maybe some of your sub-diamond ranked games, to help minimize the absolute painful fact that every legend in this game is going to have a easier time doing anything. Wattson's passive is labeled Spark of Genius. It allows her to carry 2 ultimate accelerants in one slot. It allows her to gain 100% of her ultimate charge from a ultimate accelerant instead of the usual 30-35%. It also allows her to regenerate 0.5 shields per second passively over time, and her shield recharge comes in about 5 to 10 seconds after you were last shot at and took damage, so you cannot utilize this in the middle of combat. Her ultimate also grants a 0.5 shield per second passive buff to anyone in its radius, so when combined with another Wattson, who is not in combat, that will go up to 1 shield per second. I recommend carrying a minimum of 2 ultimate accelerants at all times as a Wattson player. You can carry 4 if you wish, but that is better suited if you're playing with a team where you want to give ultimate accelerants to your teammates to allow them to charge up their ults faster. You'd be basically playing a bit of a support character and not only just a defensive legend, which is what Wattson is. She's not only a defensive legend, she's a very good support and even recon legend. Wattson's tactical, otherwise known as perimeter security, allows her to place fence nodes. When connected, they will place a electrical fence, which deals 15 damage and stuns an enemy for roughly 1 to 3 seconds. When I say Wattson is useless, this primarily comes from her incredibly underwhelming tactical. It takes 30 seconds to recharge 1 node. You need 2 nodes to put up a fence, meaning it can take an entire minute just to put down a fence that will easily be destroyed anyways. If we compare this to Caustic, whom gets a barrel every 25 seconds, we can see how Wattson's tactical is so underwhelming. It takes her twice as long to get something that you could almost call an equivalent to another defensive legend who is in just a better place overall. When placing Wattson's fence, we have a variety of options. We have the straight line, the triangle shape, or we have the hourglass / maybe X shape. Keep in mind that each of these shapes will have different costs for the amount of nodes that they take, as well as the amount of time it takes to actually place these nodes, and the amount of time you will need to spend recharging your nodes. Wattson's ultimate is the interception pylon. It's also frequently referred to as a trophy or trophy system. It basically just shoots ordnance out of the air and offers a 0.5% recharge rate to shields of anybody, including enemies, that are within its radius and direct line of sight. This is easily the fundamental part of Wattson's kit. You can use this to quickly recharge nodes to place down fences way faster, or to repair your whole perimeter. You can use this to completely stop enemies from using grenades to destroy any of your fences. You can use this along with Wattson's shield recharge passive to get a considerable amount of shields back in an okay amount of time. And unlike the common belief, you absolutely can throw grenades out of the pylon and they will not get shot. It only intercepts incoming grenades or grenades that are thrown at a downwards angle within the radius of the pylon. For whatever reason, this does take 3 minutes to recharge, so you definitely want to be carrying those ultimate accelerants, as I had said earlier, as this pylon is key to late game or third parties, or if you need to play open space, you can literally just find some rocks or a couple trees and bushes to hide behind, stick this down, and now Jibbies and Bangalores and all these legends with like crazy powerful abilities that can really mess up people in open space no longer affect you anymore. You just have to keep your pylon out of the line of sight of the enemies. The most basic technique of playing Wattson is utilizing her fences at the top of elevator shafts or any sort of zip line where the enemy cannot get line of sight on your nodes, so they just cannot shoot your fences to begin with, and you catch them by surprise. So in the example shown, I'm able to place fences in front of the opening to the zip line, and the enemy really has no way to work around this. They could potentially try to hop on the ledge and then shoot at the fence, but that leaves them open to being shot at by your team or anyone who's there on that top level. And if they do destroy the fence, the Wattson could just replace it immediately, especially if you have your ult ready. On the top of elevator shafts like this, you could try to make a little triangle formation to get a higher efficiency of area covered with less nodes. Now for some slightly more advanced techniques, here on this building, which is a very common one, especially if you land in Fragment, there is a little glass railing which essentially protects your nodes from being shot at, and you can place 3 nodes to block both the elevator shaft and this wall that people commonly climb up on the side. There's no way to climb up this directly without being zapped. You can climb up on the side, of course, and try to shoot at the pylon, and there are other places that can be climbed up fairly easily, but this is the most common one, and again, it just blocks like the easiest route to your enemy to get to you. Another idea is in any locations where you need to climb up in general, even on like buildings with fairly flat surfaces, you can fence the perimeter, as it's unlikely any enemy can get an angle on those nodes, and if an Octane or Valkyrie or Horizon or Pathfinder tries to make a zip line or any sort of access point to your roof, these fences will immediately be blocking them and most likely grab them, depending on how high over the fence they go. You should also know now how to hold fences. So holding a fence is when you stand in the fence to keep it off intentionally to bait an enemy to come into your fence, and then you walk out of it, it turns on, and then the enemy gets zapped by the fence. This is especially useful if you want to hold a door and you're being chased by a team. You would run out of the door, close it, hold it, place fence nodes on the left and right side, and then run away, allowing the entire enemy team or anyone who's chasing you to all run face first into your fence, where you can turn around and get a ton of damage in, or just keep running. I commonly use this fairly basic strategy to easily win 1v1s where I'm at a huge disadvantage because I had just killed their teammate or taken damage from behind, or I have a whole team chasing me. I do this, I climb up a wall beside the building, everyone runs out, and then I shoot them in the head while they're all stunned and down a person or two, and then all of a sudden they don't have this insane advantage anymore. So finally, for the pro level techniques that are just gonna take your Wattson to the next level and make her a very powerful tool, just kidding. What you can do is you have a new fence placement method called the spaghetti, and that is when you place just your nodes blocking doorways in the basic manner, but then you extend them further into where you're hiding and just sort of have a big maze of fences everywhere, double crossing each other. Very hard for someone, for example, a wraith, to queue in and drop a portal and not get zapped. And that is the exact reason why it's set up this way. It's so enemies can't just break your one node at the door, run in and start shooting you. There's also nodes everywhere else. The whole room is blue, lasered, It's very dangerous to move. If a wraith does attempt to portal in at you, her team is at a massive disadvantage if they portaled in immediately, because they would just get zapped and they would be very confused. Another technique is to use the trophy to actually block entry to a doorway. You can then set up a fence on that same doorway, so an enemy has to destroy that door, destroy your pylon, and then destroy the fence. It is very time consuming, and they can't really use grenades to do this that easily. If you need to fortify a building, you can actually get multiple pylons in multiple rooms for, you know, grabbing any grenade that might come into a bigger area, but also to block doorways from the outside towards the inside. Also, as a Wattson, because of the way buildings are designed, it's far more effective to place fences on the outside of a building to keep people trapped in, or to limit their ability to rotate out of a building, climb up the side, run around, etc. You can use fences on the outside of the buildings where there's far less clutter, allowing you to make actually indestructible fences, and this is like the only way you can actually use Wattson, I guess, aggressively, but this is the best way to use your fences if you don't want them to get destroyed. You might have also seen like other content creators and stuff with 200 IQ Wattson clips where they place a Wattson fence on one side of the door, go to the other, hold the door, and then place the node on the other side, and then you zap the person who is holding the door from the other side, you know, when you have a door standoff. Now, you can take this a step further and actually set up 2 additional fences that will additionally close off the other side of the doorway from being exited from. So once I move and the person gets zapped by my 200 IQ Wattson fence, they also, if they push forwards, will take additional damage, so they are forced to retreat backwards while being stunned for a basically free kill. If you made it this far, thanks for watching the video. Hope you learned something, but to be honest, there's no way you didn't learn something on Wattson if you watched this whole video. I live stream over on Twitch, and I do that on weekdays, typically between 5 to 9 p.m. Helsinki time. You can come check that out and watch some more Wattson plays or whatever. I'm usually playing Wattson, so links are all in the description, of course. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know potentially some feedback or thoughts. It's my first time doing a video like this, and yeah, bye-bye.